Hi everybody, it's Papa Rock here. I'm going to show you again how to make a Celtic knot. I've had a lot of requests to slow down the knot that I did about a month ago. Here I'm working on quad paper. It's 4 squares to the inch. To make this simple knot, you put dots on alternating squares, on the corners of each alternating square, to create a grid pattern of 6 dots by 4 dots. You see how they make boxes there? In the center of those boxes, you put a dot. So where the cross of the grid paper meets, you put a dot. This is your basic shape, basic beginning part for making a Celtic knot. Then you put walls in. The walls make it easier for you to know where the turns of the strand of the Celtic knot are going to be made. So you just draw a line around your box of dots. Then you start anywhere. I usually start in a corner, and you start making your strand, following the pattern or the outline of the dots. When you hit the wall, you have to make a turn. It's always over, under, over, under. That's a basic strand. There's a turn. It hits the wall. A turn. Hits the wall. Make a turn. And then just continue patterning the strand as you go along. Try and make the strand the same thickness so that it looks relatively consistent. I could have done it better, but I didn't want to take so much of your time up. So then you just continue filling in the knot. Over, under, over, under. It's a basic series of lines with curves. That's all it is, using the dots as a guide. Just keep filling it in. Over, under, over, under. When it hits the wall, it has to turn. When it hits the wall, it has to make a turn. Straight strand and a turn. And there it's done. Now you want to fill in your grid pattern, the cheater dots. I always start by putting a firmer border around the outside of my finished knot. As you can see, it starts to make it come alive by eliminating the rough dots and the rough edges. It gives your knot more shape and, as I said, brings it to life. You fuss a little bit in cleaning up all these little spots, and then you fill in all the dots in the core of the knot. Okay, now you color in the center parts and clean up all the little rough edges. And voila, the dots disappear and nobody knows how you were able to make this pattern of over, under for a Celtic knot. This particular knot is 1 strand. If you put in barriers, and I'll show you that in a minute. If you put barriers into your knot before you start it, it sometimes forms into 2 strands, sometimes not. It depends on where you put the barriers and how many dots you use. Generally, if you use a grid pattern of an even number of dots, like 4 by 4 or 5 by 5, then you'll get a variety of strands. Sometimes 3, sometimes 4, maybe 2. And then you add some color. And the finished knot is there. Here is the same knot with a barrier in the center. You need to put your barrier wall on the center dots. So you've made the square dots and they go on the secondary set of dots that you've put in. Here it's a little more complicated because, as you can see, there's a wall that your strand is going to bump into. So it's fitting over and under itself even more than it did in the first, more simple knot. Again, over, under, over, under. When you hit a wall, it has to curve. And you just fill it all in. I'll shut up while you watch the knot filling in. Try and keep the strand the same thickness. It shows more continuity. Over, under. The more practice you give yourself, the easier it'll seem. I know it looks complicated, it's really not. It's very easy to learn, and it's very satisfying when you can do something like this. Maybe one day I'll show you a keepsake that I did for a friend of mine who retired. And I made for him a memento which included a knot that bordered the picture that I did for him. And it turned out quite effectively, I think. Again, you're putting in your background touches, and there's a Celtic knot with a little Celtic cross in the center. And as you can see, it is one continual strand again. And this is just showing a highlight of how the knot worked. I'd love to see if any of you make a knot. If you have any questions, just personal message me and I'll help you out if you didn't understand all of this. I'd love to see what you do. And for now, that's it, and that's all. Bye.